What's happening, everybody? Trey here, joined by my dad Sean, and today reactions to the classics. We are up to 1981 in our top 5 albums by year draft that we've been going through. Started at 65, continuing on through the years, and yeah, man, excited to jump into this year.
Yeah, I am as well, and yeah, if you haven't checked out our other ones, there's a playlist below. Go check that out. We're going to ask you at the end who you think won and what your top 5 is. So keep that in mind. The way this works is who gets first pick this one, Trey?
You got first pick.
I got first pick on this one. I can't ever remember. We're filming 4 in a row here. So I got first pick. Trey gets 2 and 3. I get 4 and 5 and so on. And I say this every video, but sometimes getting number 1 is an advantage. Sometimes you're there at 2 or 3 in heavy album years that they're great. I don't think this year is that great. You may disagree. But for me, my number 1 pick, ELO Time.
Like it.
9th studio album, concept album, which a lot of people don't know that have even heard it, about a man from the 80s who was taken to the year 2095, where he's confronted by the dichotomy between technological advancement and a longing for past romance. 2095 could have just been 2022, and that would have probably been just fine. Topped the UK charts for 2 weeks, though. It attracted mixed reviews because it was a departure. Instead of the orchestra stuff, they went over to the electronics, which was the way music was going in the 80s, and they were on the forefront of some of that. But you got Twilight,
which we have a song reaction up to, and it really does do a good job of, I think, setting the stage. Since it is the the opener to the record.
Correct, I agree. And you also got Hold On Tight, Ticket to the Moon, Rain Is Falling. Just a really well done album. Would it be number 1 in most years that we've done so far? No, it would not. But I couldn't find a definitive number 1. Well, maybe you could.
Well,
What'd you get?
Yeah, man. And then just touching, I think ELO's they're just an impressive group. That
very
no
much
matter
so.
what genre they're going through, they still have those pop sensibilities, that catchiness to them. And I really did enjoy this record. And of course, Out the Blue and their '70s work as well is really strong.
Jeff Lynne, one of the most underrated guys I think in music history, just for how prolific and skilled he was, and not a lot of people don't even know who he is.
Oh yeah, man. So for my number 1, it was pretty clear for me. I'm going the great Siouxsie and The Banshees Juju record, their 4th album. This dad has influenced everybody from Radiohead to Billy Corgan to Brett Anderson. So a lot of acclaim in the music circle, so to speak. The A side is just absolutely dynamite, man. You got one of their more famous and best songs in Spellbound.
Great one.
You have Arabian Nights, Monitor as well. That guitar work is great by John McGoach. I kind of always butcher his name, but he's just fantastic on here. And that type of post-punk sound meshes so well with the versatile vocal delivery of the great Siouxsie Sue, man. So check this one out if you haven't. And switching, we are going to go now to Rush, Moving Pictures. They've been on fire since the mid-'70s in their releases, in my opinion. And here we kind of step back from the longer epics that we've used to see on like 2112 or something like that, and we kind of blend that prog with the traditional rock here, and it features some of their more famous songs on here. We got YYZ,
right?
We got Tom Sawyer.
I would say maybe their most famous song.
Yeah, and Limelight is unbelievable as well. Don't sleep on the Closer, Vital Signs. The band is just in great form, and continues to experiment with that the trio of sound in more accessible ways, so to speak, man. So shout out to Rush on that. What do you got as your second?
That one would have made my list, but you took it. So my number 2 is The Police, Ghost in the Machine. 4th studio album, 1 in the UK, 2 in the US. You got Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic, Invisible Sun, Spirits in the Material World, and they're cranking up and getting ready for the epic Synchronicity.
Oh yeah.
But this album is quite good, and a lot of times I think because of the success of Synchronicity, people think that's their best album. I'm not necessarily sure that it is, but this album is really, really well done.
No, man, I agree with you, and it's interesting too, since the Police were just so popular and at the top of the world. And I think they have 5 albums.
I mean, Andy and Stewart are just on guns a-blazing on this one, as well as Sting. Sometimes they get forgotten. They're wonderful musicians. All right, well, my next pick is an album that's forgotten kind of in the lore of The Cure. I'm going to go with Faith, their 3rd studio album, 14 in the UK. For sure, this one's dark and gloomy and depressing.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's one of the reasons why it doesn't quite get mentioned as much. But Primary and Doubt are definitely up-tempo gems. Suffers, Trey, from being stuck between 17 Seconds and, of course, the epic Pornography, which is one of the best albums of the 80s, not just of them.
No, man, I think that is a good point here. And, they're still kind of in that more atmospheric, if you want to call it gothic type of rock here before, as
before they become a little more accessible to the masses.
In the mid-'80s as they kind of go through. So, that's a good pick right there. I like showing that some love, man. And
I would have taken this one if you wouldn't have taken this one.
Now, to my number 3 pick, man, I just listened to this recently in prep for the list, and I was blown away by how freaking good it was, man. How catchy it was. The Go-Go's, Beauty and the Beat. Debut record, man. Blend that pop and, new wave is still really in vogue here at this time. That it's just a delightful album that's just so melodic and really fun. Sometimes you just want to put on a record and just have fun, be uplifted a little bit. And I think the Go-Go's deliver in that, man. Our Lips Are Sealed and, of course, We Got the Beat are the most famous tunes for a reason. But Lust of Love, Can't Stop the World also showcase the talent of Belinda Carlisle and guitarist Charlotte Caffey as well.
Yeah, and now we're getting to the time period, Trey, where I was 10 during this time. I remember the Go-Go's when they hit because for me, there were other all-female bands before. Not many that played their instruments. There were other ones before. But this was the first time where I saw it and where they were just so commercially. So both those songs you mentioned, We Got the Beat and Our Lips Are Sealed. I remember the videos. I remember whoa, what is going on here, man? I think it inspired a ton of people, to a ton of girls to go, wait a minute, I can do this thing. Obviously, since then, Belinda and Jane Weedland have become wildly famous, but a really good album, and I would have chosen. But yeah, I do remember this, and it was a big, big deal, man, in 1981.
Well, I would imagine, because women have appeared on our list, but mostly in a solo sphere.
Yes, exactly.
Up to this point, just because there really weren't many.
Well, the record companies weren't giving them a chance, man.
And if you weren't going in, your like Supremes or Motown girl groups, or
but they weren't playing the instruments.
No, and then you had like Fanny. I can't really think of many actually all female led like rock type of groups that really were in the 60s or 70s in any sort of popularity. So I think as the 80s go through, that is a great point that you'll continue to see the ladies rock out in a band form.
And of course you did have the Runaways before everybody jumps in and tells us, but they weren't totally commercially successful to a point of where they hit the masses on a regular basis like the Go-Go's did. It's a great pick.
Yeah, and my next pick, definitely a two sides of the coin here. We're going the great Henry Rollins, the debut record from Black Flag. I know some of you aren't into punk music. That's okay. You'll one day come around. It's going to be Damaged, man. One of those records that sounds just as it looks, man, on the cover where, we got a guy just punching the glass.
Henry's an intense guy.
Oh, yeah, man. You have one of the most famous punk tunes of all time opening this thing and Rise Above, man, just so anthemic, an aggressive tone that the whole album displays. Loud, fast, in your face. Depression, Room 13, Police Story are all really strong, and just shows, I think, that the Ramones, even the Sex Pistols to some extent, still had some of that not an air of fun, but an air of more kind of pop melodies still
melody,
in there.
I was gonna say,
whereas this we're only a handful of years past that now, and it's showing that punk can get into that more darker, angrier sound, if you will, man. So I had to show some love there. What do you got closing out your list here?
Well, my fourth pick, Echo and the Bunnymen. Evan Up Here, second studio album, first top 10, went to 10 in the UK, 184 in the US. I always mention it's a big deal, man. It's a big deal that you even make the charts in America then. Best album by NME, Over the Wall of Promise, often compared to Joy Division's Closer, but more hopeful. This one has a little more upbeat stuff, like No Dark Things and All I Want. The lyricism on those are more spun on a positive realm, and a little indication of what's to come from Echo and the Bunnymen. And Trey, I'm going to finish this thing off with a guy that appeared on my list last year, so if you haven't watched it, spoiler. We got Prince, we got Controversy.
Like it.
4th studio album, but this is the one where you start to go. This still didn't get over, right? This still wasn't some sort of hit or anything, but he switches out. Those first 3 are very erotic, I guess would be the right word to put it. This one still has some of that. But it was produced and written except for one track, and he played almost all the instruments. You're starting to go, wait a minute, this guy in his early 20s is doing all this. The title track's fantastic, 7 minutes long. Then you got Ronnie Talk to Russia, which he wrote to Reagan, so you get a little bit of politicism. You got Andy Christian, has Lennon's death in there, among like the Atlanta children murders. If you were alive back then and remember that, it was horrible. So he's trying to talk to us more through the lyrics in the previous albums, but boy, now you're about to buckle up for 2 of the most iconic albums of the 80s that Prince is about to bring, but those we'll save for another year.
No, man, I like that you called this one out because I do think it's underrated in his catalog. I think Controversy itself is one of his better tunes, man. I love the chorus to that. Do I believe in God? Do I believe in me? I just think that it's a good blend and a good kind of cornerstone of Prince's catalog to show where he's going to go. So, good pick there, man. My final is going to be King Crimson's Discipline right there. They kind of fire up a conglomeration here of prog rock and new wave. The results are really solid. This is might be my favorite actual King Crimson record. Not saying it's the best, but just for my personal preferences, man, I kind of like the way they threw aside some of those proggier elements. But yeah, I have the opener Elephant Talk, which is kind of a bit weird, a little too quirky for me. But then we just fire on all cylinders, man. Adrian Below shows a bit more personality on this record with his vocal delivery than on the 70s releases that they had. Bill Bruford is just a menace on the kit, man. Frame by frame, one of the band's best tunes. Also like the title track. And that'll take us now to honorable mention time. Agent Orange, Living in Darkness, another great punk record. Glenn Branca, The Ascension, a fantastic just symphony of guitars that just an all-instrumental record.
It has insane critical acclaim.
Yeah, so go check that one out. ABBA with one of my favorites by them, The Visitors, kind of the later stages of the group right there. We have the great Brian Eno and David Byrne teaming up for My Life in the Bush of Ghost, The Gun Club, Fire of Love, Human League, Dare up in here.
I like me some Human League, man. Pretenders 2, which you did an album reaction to for one of our patrons, Trucker Kev, that's up, and then Wipers, Youth of America. So that's what we got, guys. Let us know who you think won, and give us your list down below. And if you guys support us in any way, check out the Patreon link below or the Patreon link on the end screen. The patrons make this go. Trey, we are going to be returning next week if you're watching these as we're dropping them for 1982.
No, man, some iconic records in there, needless to say, man. So be looking forward to that. And until next time, y'all, thanks for watching. Happy listening, and we will see you.